beauty of our great outdoors across the USA.
Hi there, come on in. I'm Fred Trost, and I'd like you to join me for the next half hour. We have a rundown of features. If you live in the South, you'll get a kick out of this one. Ice fishing basics, the hows and whys to catch fish through the ice in the winter. We're also going to find out what our white-tailed deer are doing during the frigid northern winters in a winter whitetail report. And we have a rabbit hunt, America's #1 game animal, the favorite on the table. We also have a recipe for Paula's panfish. Oh, terrific for almost any type of fish. So stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost. It's time for the Outdoor Digest.
Oh, there's a crappie.
Whoa, look at that.
There are so many ways to go ice fishing and so many places to go and so many ways to get there. When the ice is a foot thick or more, like it gets on Saginaw Bay and Houghton Lake, you'll see quite a few cars and trucks driving right onto the ice. Now, the four-wheel drive of the Bronco isn't necessary as long as there's snow, but it's a comfortable way to get out a few miles. And the easiest way to put a hole in the ice also uses a gasoline engine. You can use a long chisel-like spud and chip away by hand, but when you have to drill a lot of holes, and when the ice is 2, sometimes close to 3 feet deep, there's no getting around it, a power auger is the way to go. If you want real comfort, fish from a shanty. That's the deluxe way of ice fishing. You can buy them or build them. Here's a homemade 4-holer for 2 anglers. No tackle is more basic, simple, and inexpensive than ice fishing rods, reels, and lures. Now, these are the types they use on Saginaw Bay, and different parts of the state have local favorite types of tackle. I'm fishing with Gail Bedore from Quanticossee, and he's showing me the ropes on catching these Saginaw Bay perch.
You know it? Oh, come on. Okay, did I lose the line there?
Oh, he's over in my hole.
Come on. Oh, there he is. I thought he was going to be a huge one. I had such great expectations.
Well, perch may not give a big battle, and they're not huge fish, but they're fun to catch. And when they're hitting, it's not difficult to catch a bucketful.
This is the day's worth, huh?
Yep, this is it.
Hey, this isn't too bad. I'm still sticking it out here to the bitter end, seeing if I can get one more, but dump them out there. We got some nice ones.
Great Lakes perch.
Do they?
Take them home where it's warm, fillet them, and they are tops. Now, the large cousin of the perch is the walleye. Delectable to eat, and the nice thing about walleye is they grow larger. 2-3 pounds is an average size. They catch on the Saginaw and Tittabawassee rivers. Looks dangerous with that open water running nearby, but the fishermen are on solid ice, and one fellow explains his walleye techniques to me.
But these are nice walleye.
Mm-hmm.
That's how do you catch them?
Jigging with a jig and with a minnow on it.
Well, let's see which one. You have 2 rigs here, I see. This is the one that caught these 2?
Right. That's
looks like a little Clio or
little
something.
Clio.
Oh, that's what it is.
Little blue and white Clio, and you put a minnow on it, and split shot to hold it down.
I see, because it's what?
Jigging in the river current right on the bottom, that's where the walleye are. In recent years, walleye have become more common, more popular among anglers, and bigger. Many lakes throughout the state hold walleye, but Saginaw Bay and the rivers around Midland and Bay City produce some real whoppers and lots of them. Here we go. There's a happy angler with a nice walleye. Now, many winter fishermen are content with catching panfish from the small inland lakes and ponds. Ed Boldazar from Ed's Bait Shop in Bath is using a typical crappie technique. Small minnows under a bobber are a favorite. Watch this bobber go down. After that bump, it slowly submerges. This shows you how sluggish fish are in 36-degree water. They don't move fast and they don't move too far. For crying out loud, they're cold down there. Water is just a few degrees above freezing. Crappies can be found suspended in the tops of submerged trees, so you don't have to go right to the bottom to find them. They're a small fish, a panfish like a bluegill, not difficult to catch and good to eat. But if you want to catch bluegill, switch to a tiny teardrop lure and fish it on the bottom, or at least start fishing there and come up slowly. Add a little flavor to the teardrop with a bit of live bait. Not a minnow. Use a grub of some sort, a corn borer or mousy or waxworm, something small to give the teardrop just a little bit of flavor. Only thing that makes this difficult is the temperature of your hands. Mittens or a muff or at least a towel to dry your wet hands off will help a lot. Some anglers carry Coleman lanterns, not so much for the light as for the heat. You can use a cork bobber, but some fishermen like the spring bobber. Your lightweight 2-pound test line goes through the eye into the spring, and when one of these slow-moving bluegills picks up your bait, you'll see that spring twitch. There we go. That's the signal to pick up the little ice fishing rod and set the hook snugly. Now, don't horse the bluegills in too fast with that light line. Just keep it tight, and they'll come right up through the hole. Watch the edge of the hole, though. Many nice fish are lost right there. But there's your winter bluegill. Now, going for the bigger predator fish, northern pike is one of the favorites. It can be done using a tip-up. Mike Copenhaver from Ludington shows us a typical wooden tip-up that works well for northern pike. The flag flies when the fish pulls on the line, trips off a trigger.
Now we go down here.
See, the reel on a tip-up is set under the water, and so it won't freeze up. Now, the bait, usually a shiner minnow at least 3 inches long, is dangling underneath, just above the weeds. A northern pike are caught in shallow water, often just 3-4 feet deep. Now, what's the charm of tip-up fishing? Well, the tip-ups are set while you watch from a warm shanty or a vehicle. And when the flag flies, you run out, make sure the pike is moving away from you, then set the hook. You do all this by hand. And there's no telling what's on the other end. It could be big or small or nothing at all. That's what makes it exciting.
Tension there?
You know, that's what happens when people catch fish.
Let go with your left hand so you don't have a big mess. There you go.
All right, not bad. That's a keeper.
Yep.
Just legal.
I'll be doggone.
Pike have to be 20 inches to be legal in most lakes. They fight a good battle, and from cold water, they're great eating. And there's another way to fish pike through the ice. That's spearing. This you have to do from a shanty because the hole in the ice needs to be in the dark for 2 reasons. The fish can come to your decoy and not be spooked by the sunlight and your motions seen through the hole in the ice. And also, you can see down through the hole best when you're in a dark shanty. Now, the wooden decoys are often handmade by carvers who have elevated fish decoys to an art form that are also used to attract pike under the ice. You have the spear by your side, tied to a rope so you don't lose it. And there is a technique to tossing a spear through a hole in the ice. Not as easy as it sounds, especially when you're new to spearing and your heart's pounding when you see that pike.
I got him. Don't I? I missed. Holy cow.
Believe it or not, ice fishing is fun. That's why we do it. And anglers do catch more fish per hour through the ice than anglers do in the summer. They're just more intense about it. But you know, a question comes to mind in the winter. What are our white-tailed deer doing in the woods 24 hours a day? Let's go to a report now on wintering whitetails.
Snow covers the ground, makes it difficult to walk, which burns up energy. Snow also covers up much of their food, what little there is once the plants lose their leaves and become dormant. When the snow comes, the deer move into yards, which are usually cedar swamps where they find protection from the wind and some food is available. In the little town of Hulbert, near Tequamanon Falls, Lloyd Campbell has a small, modern apartment building, the only one in town, and he built a deer viewing room off the downstairs lobby. Each winter, the deer, along with a local flock of turkeys, come from the nearby deer yard and eat the handouts that Lloyd provides. Every day, during the middle of winter, spectators come from miles around to watch the deer and the turkeys. Now, this provides a lot of enjoyment to a lot of people, but it's at the deer's expense. These deer are not seen throughout the rest of the year. They're not tame, they're wild. But the reason they come in for food so near people is because they're hungry. The deer you're looking at right now, the ones waiting for Lloyd to put the food out, aren't just hungry. These are the deer that are literally starving. Now, they're not on their last leg, but they're the ones that are hurting the most. These deer are the smaller ones, the young of the year, the fawns, the ones that are run off of the food piles by the bigger deer, the more healthy deer, when they come in to eat. It takes starving deer to lose their fear of man or of any meat-eating animal. Their quest for survival is so strong that they know if they don't get food soon, their strength, which is already down, will soon be gone. So the weakest deer follow Lloyd, getting the corn before the bigger deer, the bullies of the deer yard, come in to take over. What's the matter with the food, the twigs and branches out in the deer yards? Well, research has shown that the protein content in the food that deer find in the winter is down 25 to 40%. Now that happens as the plants become dormant, so a pound of winter plants doesn't have the protein content that the summer food does. But what makes it even more difficult for deer is the digestibility. In the summer, a deer can digest about 70% of the plant material it eats, and in August, the digestibility drops to 45 or 50%, and by midwinter, it dips to as low as 12%. This means that during yarding, deer digest only a small fraction of what they eat, and the protein content of that small amount is far less than they get when they eat the same plants when they're green. And when you come to Wildlife Acres, which is what Lloyd Campbell calls his backyard deer yard, you'll see the deer and the turkeys eating at tabletop level. Now, that's something that these critters don't find in the woods. Most of their food they either have to paw for or reach for. Now, they don't mind reaching for food. I mean, they'll even take it from a bird feeder. For most warm-blooded animals, now whether it's turkeys or human beings, our metabolism increases the colder we get. Our bodies speed up, require more food to keep us warm, the way a furnace thermostat reacts to a draft. But not with deer. Their metabolism goes down as the temperature drops below freezing. They move less. They bed down most of the time. They don't move at night. Their feeding is almost all done during the day. And during storms, they'll stay in their beds for days at a time without looking for food.
White-tailed deer have a tough time in the winter. They're our #1 big game animal in North America. What's the #1 game animal? Cottontail rabbits. Let's take to the fields for a winter rabbit hunt.
Beagles have melodic voices, at least to rabbit hunters. These dogs are as much of an attraction to rabbit hunting as those tasty cottontails. Now, you don't train beagles the way you train other dogs. They either run rabbits or they don't. And every beagle seems to have a little different style. Just like rabbit hunters prefer different guns, different boots, different hats, and different jackets. Now, Bob enjoys rabbit hunting as much as anybody I know. He likes beagles that move along at a good clip. He likes aggressive beagles. And it goes without saying that Bob likes to eat rabbit. In fact, I don't know a rabbit hunter who doesn't. Now, Greg from Muskegon was along for this hunt. He enjoys the afternoon hunts, and he lives far enough north for both cottontails and snowshoe hares. And Mark Martin, most known for his skill at guiding anglers to lunker walleye in Muskegon Lake, but he's also attracted by any good patch of rabbit cover.
Okay, well, this is about 40 acres of how many brush piles?
There'd be 10, 11 of these great big brush piles from where they cleared it. They just left the stuff. And we're lucky because the woodchucks haven't made enough holes that the rabbits can just consistently hide and not come out. They've got to come out.
So the rabbits are there, they're under the stumps, the deadfalls.
In the raspberries that have grown up between all this stuff, they're tough to get out. I'm not saying we're going to get every one out, but there aren't so many holes that we can't get any of them out.
If we were to hunt this without dogs, what would it? Tough?
Tough going. Usually, I think you can kill about as many rabbits or take as many rabbits without a dog as you can with a dog. But this kind of hunting, you definitely need the dogs. And not to run the rabbits in a big circle. You need the dogs simply to root them out of the brush piles.
Okay, now the dogs. You have your two beagles. Describe your beagles, Mark. I've heard so much about them that they're tops. Is that true or false?
That's true. Yeah, they have put a few years in on them, 6 on one and almost 5 on the other, and they're pretty well disciplined. They do what I tell them to.
Disciplined beagles?
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be a treat.
Hold it.
They'll go in where I want them to, and if there's a rabbit in the brush pile, they're going to flush it out. One's strictly a good pile dog, and the other one's a good trailing dog, and together they really make a good team.
Okay, explain that, the difference between what you call a pile dog and a trailing dog.
One dog will go in there and rip the brush apart and won't come out at all, and the other dog kind of work around the edges until it gets too excited and smells the rabbit, and then it'll go in sometimes. But this other dog gets used to busting the brush. It grew up with a bigger dog and had to follow it into the brush, and kind of took over that role when I started hunting them with Mandy, my dog.
So is that what makes the dogs different? Their genetics?
Yeah, one is from up north around Charleroi, Petoskey area, and the other one is from southern Michigan here. Huh. And you can tell by looking at them, they're a little bit different.
Which one's the northern dog and which one's the southern dog?
The southern one's got a pointed nose, the other one's got a snub nose.
I see.
There's something to that.
Yeah,
well, the accent, too, gives them away.
Yeah, the accent gives them away a little bit. Okay, but they bay like normal beagles.
Yeah, when they smell a rabbit, they'll start barking right away and dig and claw in these brush piles, or otherwise if they shoot out, my dog will come around and pick it up and run that rabbit around until it comes back again.
Are your dogs, the trailing dog, is it a slow dog or fast dog?
It's medium. It depends on the day. Like today, it'd be kind of slow but steady.
Why today? Today is an ideal day except for the temperature, maybe.
Yeah, the temperature and the wind. If we didn't have the wind and the temperature so low, they could just steam them right around to you again. But with this right here, it's ideal for getting in the brush piles right now.
Let's take a look at our guns. Greg, you have the highfalutin. I'd open that up there, just highfalutin automatic.
20 gauge semi-auto Ithaca with a
Looks like
custom paint job.
Custom paint job, been used in the marsh turkeys and whatever. Bob, you're using?
I'm using this gun that I bought for my son before he was born. It's a good foil for the wife, you know. I like it. It's just a short little youth model Ranger. The stock is too short for me, but for quick pointing,
for
rabbits and grouse.
Yeah, rack the pump there to show.
Yeah.
It's a pump gun, pumping
a little short barrel. You can get through the brush.
Mark, you're using it over and under.
Yeah, right.
With a swivel mount.
Yeah, it makes it a little bit easier to carry.
With a sling.
Yeah, jump across the creek, you can put it over your shoulder instead of dropping it in the creek.
And I'm going to be using my tried and true, trusty 20-gauge single-shot, inexpensive, used from my youth, well broken in, and excellent rabbit gun. You can't beat a gun like this.
We'll just see how you shoot.
Okay.
Hey, you can talk all you want about a gun, but till you shoot it.
That's right. But that's the nice thing about rabbit hunting. You can use a variety of guns.
Sure can, yeah. 22s, but out here with a bunch of people with 22s, there's always a possibility of a ricochet. So shotguns are, well, light shot are really fine for this.
Okay, well, it feels like a good day to me for rabbits.
I'm ready.
We have a spot that hasn't been hunted yet this year. Everything, we got excellent dogs. We have a barrage of guns. Want to let the dogs out?
Yeah.
Now we want to see these well-trained, mannerly beagles.
Hey, that's no fair.
Mandy, come on.
Here's something you don't
Where's the
often
rabbit?
see a beagle do.
Come here. Come on. Gonna get a rabbit? Ginger? Ginger? Gonna get a rabbit?
I'll be doggone, that beagle came back. Okay.
An obedient beagle. Now that's something you don't see very often. These little dogs do have a reputation for getting out of their pens or out the back door, slipping away to the nearest patch of rabbit cover, and coming home only when they're dog-tired. Their short little legs don't carry them very fast, and they don't seem to tire as quickly as the longer-legged, faster-running bird dogs. Or, actually, as fast as the longer-legged, older, but supposedly wiser hunters that follow these beagles wherever they go. And those beagles generally take you to rabbits. Aha, now I've spotted the first good rabbit sign here at the first brush pile. In some areas, these little pellets are thick, along with rabbit tracks going every which way. Now, brush piles always hold a lot of rabbits. Now, when I say a lot, it wouldn't be unusual to rouse 20 or 30 rabbits from a big pile this size if you could take the whole thing apart. In fact, this weather early in the season, 40 or 50 wouldn't be a surprise, but you can't take the brush pile apart, so you send the beagles in to wiggle through the sticks and the twigs and crawl under the stumps and hopefully send a few cottontails running for another nearby brush pile. Now, visibility is better for hunters on top of a brush pile, but getting there can be a little tough sometimes. The dogs worm their way through everything, though. Of course, this is Ginger. This is the pile dog, who spends all of her time in the thick stuff. While Mandy, there she is, patrolling the borders, trying to pick up the scent of a bunny that bolted from one pile to another. All of a sudden, Mark sees a cottontail making tracks, so he shoulders his gun. Well, it was a good shot, the second one, that is, and I retrieved Mark's first rabbit of the day. Well, while he tried to show us how a trained beagle listens.
Let's go. Yeah, over here. Come on, yeah.
There we go. On this 40 acres, there are probably hundreds of rabbits. Plenty to feed the neighborhood foxes, hawks, and other predators that will eat 80% of the rabbit population in a year. Well, including man, he's a predator, but he really takes a small number of the annual crop. Now, what attracts many hunters back to the fields is the taste of these critters. Underneath that fur is quite a bit of meat that is close to chicken or turkey as anything. And there are more rabbits moving around this pile. It just takes a while to see them, but when they move, oftentimes all you catch is a glimpse. Greg and I posted ourselves on the side of the brush pile that faced other piles, thinking that this would be where most of the traffic would come. Now, see if you can see the rabbit moving in there.
There goes. Oh, I can't shoot that way.
If you saw it, you were quick. You have a sharp eye, even when you're right there. Again, in slow motion. Did you see it? We'll go backwards. It's a dark flash through the branches. Here it comes again. Now it gives us a good look, only for a second, though. Now, I wasn't watching when it came back, but you can see it run back again. There it goes. You can see how fast and fleeting cottontails are. Nearly impossible to catch on tape. Did you see that one run? The whole sequence at normal speed took 3 seconds. Bunnies and beagles, an enjoyable way to put a tasty wild meal on the table. That's America's #1 most popular game animal, the cottontail rabbit, a big winter attraction.
Paula Slack sent us a recipe for Paula's panfish. And this recipe is quite low in cholesterol. It's got a lot of the cholesterol-free ingredients in it. And these are little perch. You could use bluegill or walleye or just about any type of fish in this recipe. And you do want to separate the egg and use just the white for this. And you could use one of the little egg separators, or you could do it the old-fashioned way. And we're going to use Italian dressing. Now, this also is the less oil. It's got just very little amount of oil in it. And you're going to make a batter out of the egg white and the oil. And we're going to use the cholesterol-free potato chips for a coating. You need to crush these, and you could use a rolling pin here, but it works just as well just to pound them a little bit because you don't want them real fine. You want them a little bit bigger pieces. And then we're going to add flour to the potato chips because the chips won't stick to the fish by itself. You're just going to make a coating out of the potato chips and flour. And then you're going to dip the pieces into the dressing and egg mixture first, and then into the flour and potato chips. Then all you do is fry them. And you do need to coat these very good. And then instead of using butter, you can use the lower in saturated fat margarines, and it does work just as well. You just fry one side and turn them over and fry the other. And I think these would be good on a sandwich or just cold as a finger food. Of course, you can't beat these while they're hot. And I think Bob Garner will agree that you really don't need a sauce to go on these.
We ought to call it a naked fish recipe because this is the first one we had in a while that we didn't have some sort of sauce for. I love it. Great combination of ingredients. Frying batters are all supposedly the same, but this is really remarkably different.
And the fact that it's so low cholesterol, it really adds to it.
Well, that's healthy and all that sort of stuff. I'm talking taste. This is good. This is good. Here, let me get some more of this. Hold it. I'll take the salad with it.
You take the salad. You're going to make
a sandwich.
Big sandwich.
Hey, if we're talking cholesterol and stuff, I want my fiber while I'm at it.
Not only is this recipe delicious, it's easy to prepare like...
Now, I know a lot of you don't have ice fishing available to you in the South, but think about the techniques we use, the light line, the little baits, the little lures. Believe it or not, these are dynamite panfish techniques in the summer. So try them. If you can, get outdoors this weekend. It's a great place to be. See you next week.
I just wondered, do we have a windscreen? Yeah.